Hey, Kentucky, this is Matt Jones. Tonight, the Cats hope some home cooking will help them turn around their losing streak. Could the FBI investigation of college basketball expand? And we're going to hear from the UK cheerleaders before they head to go to Korea to cheer with the North Koreans. That's tonight on Hey, Kentucky. Welcome, everybody, to Hey Kentucky, presented by Wendy's and Sullivan University. We brought Drew Franklin out of hiding tonight after a couple weeks, I think it's been. How have you been?
I'm great. I've never been more excited in my entire life than to be on this show right now.
Never?
Not about anything, as I am right now.
Well, I'm excited to get started then. And the Cats are excited to be back home as they try to turn around their 4-game losing streak. Tomorrow afternoon's matchup with Alabama presents an opportunity for a change in fortune, and Kentucky needs a win. Alabama's a quality team. They're right now projected to make the NCAA tournament. They have wins this year over Auburn, Tennessee. They even won a road game at Florida. But then they've lost to bad teams. In short, they're a lot like Kentucky. But Drew, with a 4-game losing streak and a prospect of only the 3rd time in history where they've lost 5 in a row, they got to win tomorrow.
They do, and our viewers aren't going to like this, but I'm taking Alabama.
You took Kentucky on the radio show.
No, I took Alabama on the radio show. I've been Alabama this whole time.
Why are you taking Alabama?
I just think they're in a huge funk, and they're not going to be able to turn it around yet. I think they might end up winning it like Florida or something crazy at the end of the year, have a great SEC tournament, but I still think they're just too far away to win this one.
I hope you're wrong about that because, you know, if they lose tomorrow, they go firmly, I think, on the NCAA bubble. I mean, I think if they lose tomorrow, they'll have to win either at Arkansas or at Florida to feel good about getting in the tournament. So I'm surprised you don't think they can turn it around. Like, they lost at Auburn, but they were very close to winning. I mean, a couple plays, and I think they win that game. You don't think the home crowd gets the victory?
Really, I think the problem is going to be Colin Sexton. And Kentucky can't stay in front of any guard they've played. And he's probably the best they'll play at beating him off the dribble and making plays. I think he and Petty at the other guard spot have a great game in Rupp, and we have a hard time watching it.
I do think, though, the perimeter defense has gotten a little better.
It has.
I actually think Quade, who couldn't guard anybody all year, now is at least kind of staying in front of people. I think Kentucky wins. I hope I'm wrong. As the Cats return to Rupp Arena, 5-star recruit Tyrese Maxey is also going to be in Lexington tomorrow. Now, he is the nation's #2 point guard in 2019, and he comes to town right after Calipari and Barbie watched him play in Texas. This is Maxey's 2nd trip to Kentucky. He has a scholarship offer after his visit to Big Blue Madness, and many people believe that Kentucky was the leader on the kid and could end up getting an early commitment. I love the way this kid plays, in part because he can shoot in addition to getting to the basket, which is something this team would need.
Yeah, this kid looks to be the real deal. He's down in Texas. They'll have to battle with Texas, and he's got some SMU connections. Surely you can beat out SMU. But Kentucky
his dad is the recruiting coordinator at SMU.
That helps.
So.
But, yeah, it looks Kentucky's in a great spot early on. They're going to be all in on this kid. They're not going to offer many others, if any.
All right, so there was a time that when kids like this came, I said, well, we're going to get him.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a lead. I mean, going back to Brandon Knight, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, there were all these kids that Kentucky had a lead you knew they were going to get. But now because of Zion Williamson, I think I got a little burned because for years we thought they were getting Zion Williamson, and then they didn't. Do you still feel that way? Is it just like the last couple years have been random?
Well, this is still 2 classes away. I mean, there was a time we sat here talking about how Zion Williamson was a lock and a done deal. So it is exciting early, but these things can change at any time.
Yeah, well, they can.
Especially with Duffel Bag Duke out there.
I love that you call him that. I think we get him, but he would be a good commitment to get early on.
Yeah.
Now a discussion of athletics in Kentucky schools. Our state is a rare exception when it comes to allowing middle school students to compete at the high school level. KHSAA allows 7th and 8th grade students who attend a feeder school under the same local board of education as a member school to play on a high school team. The only exceptions are varsity football and soccer, which are considered contact sports. Drew, there's some consideration that maybe this should end. Do you think middle schoolers should play high school athletics?
I love this. If they're good enough to play in high school, why make them just sit around abusing kids their age? They're not getting any better there. They're just hurting that league. Why not let them play up?
I agree with you. Now, there's been where this happens a lot really is girls basketball because the 7th and 8th graders play cross country and track where being older doesn't necessarily help. I'm with you. I mean, they made the exceptions for the sports. You don't want them playing football.
No.
You don't want them playing soccer. You really don't want them playing physical sports. Basketball's the one that's a little shady, but if you can play, you can play, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a kid out there who can do it, why not let him get better or her get better at their sport by playing the next level up? I don't see why that would hurt anything.
I think you're hearing this because Zion Harmon was in 8th grade and led the team to the state championship last year. But my thing is, if we don't have anybody who can stop an 8th grader, that's on the rest of the schools, isn't it?
And in basketball, we talk about how Kentucky high school is not very competitive.
We'll
let them get better in middle school.
That's right. Now we're going to switch to politics. An interesting new bill on school safety that's been filed in Frankfort. It would allow Kentucky school districts to implement a program using non-lethal weapons in the schools. Teacher or other school employees would be trained to use rubber bullets, buckshot and shotgun rounds, beanbag shotguns, pepper ball guns, stun guns, tranquilizers, etc. The employees would then have to undergo training and outfit themselves with these non-lethal weapons to potentially go after an active shooter. Now, this is one of many proposals out there to address school shooting. Do you think this sounds like something you could get behind?
I'm hesitant. Clearly, something needs to be done. It needs to be done soon, but I don't know if we need an English teacher in a shootout using rubber bullets if someone were to get in a shootout situation.
Well, what's better? So that, I mean, there are those people out there, I'm not one of them, who say you need to arm teachers with regular weapons. You disagree with that?
Yes.
I tend to disagree with that, too. So here's a sort of middle ground with non-lethal weapons, but I do wonder, what is the point of this in some ways? Like, is the point to just demobilize the other shooter?
It almost seems you're putting the faculty member in danger if they're the one that has to go out and stop the shooter with a real gun.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I like the creativity of the proposal, but I'm not sure I would totally buy it. And remember, in Florida, they had security guards. They had armed security guards, and it still, unfortunately, didn't make a difference. Now, in the wake of the Florida school shooting, Matt Bevin is making national news for once again pointing the finger and blaming video games as an influencer on the violence. Bevin is calling for the nation to consider restrictions on violence in video game and movies, but not guns. During his time in office, the governor has often lashed out at calls for gun control and saying you can't regulate evil. But, Drew, he does want to regulate video games, if not guns. Do you agree with the governor?
I mean, this is getting laughed at nationwide. I mean, there's some terrible video games out there. I've played them, and you're not going to get those out of kids' hands. They're making too much money. They're out there everywhere, especially movies. It just is what it is.
I will say, first of all, Bevin is getting mocked nationally for it. I mean, it's become a joke across the country. I do think that video games and movies have an impact. I don't know if it's the cause, but I think they have an impact. But I do not understand politicians who get up and say, you cannot regulate guns, but you can regulate everything else.
Let's regulate the Xbox.
Guns are the one sacred right that we all have. You got to have a license to drive a car. You got to be 21. But a gun, that's the thing. To me, it should all be open for consideration, video games and guns, and Bevin is just getting us mocked across the nation. Now, up next on Hey Kentucky, the FBI is investigating college basketball, and a new report says major programs could get in trouble. Will this affect Kentucky? We'll talk about it next here on Hey Kentucky.